Good morning, retail traders. I'm Washboardjim with a sneaky snake trading strategy where I talk about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. There's not too many people out there that I trade with that hardly ever use moving averages, but I do it, and they're very successful at it. And I'm going to show you a simple way of catching a pullback with using moving averages on the SPY and the SPX. So here's the SPY chart. The SPX chart and the SPY chart. They both about say to trade the same, and so I usually follow them both. I look at the SPY on the VWAP, and then I look at the SPX too to see how it's doing, if I'm trading just the SPX or vice versa. So we're going to go ahead and do each one of these, and I'm going to show you what to look for on a pullback. And we're going to just go ahead and open up the SPY first. We'll do the SPY first. And then I'll type in the SPX right after it. I have my regular old chart on here. September is always the month to remember. Back in September, we started to have the reversal in the market on that huge pullback about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And now we're up here at a double top. We've had one of the best runs that I've ever seen in the market ever since. So we did pull back today, and we pulled back to the 9. Now I have these on the weekly time frame. So I'm only going to judge this off the weekly, and then I'm going to go to the yearly, and that'll be it. We had a huge pullback today on the 9, and that's also the 9 EMA on the weekly, and that's also true with the SPX. We also hit that 9, so I was calling that 9 EMA today as a support level if we did pull back. Today was probably my worst days that I've had in a long time. I hardly ever have a red day. I'm usually able to pull out if I'm in a stock that's kind of turned on me. I'm usually able to get out of it okay. But today, there's no exception. It was definitely not my day for trading. And we all have them kind of days. If I would have been smart and trade defensively like I always have, I probably would have had a good day. So we had 3 black crows and 3 white soldiers. And then we consolidated with a candlestick right here. This is called a hangman candlestick. And it pulled on back and hit the 9 today. So that 9 is going to be a solid support on the SPX. And we're going to draw a trend line on this. And this is what we've got to hold tomorrow if we do pull back. If we don't hold this trend line or this price line, and it's going to be the average of right around 55.18 somewhere, 55, a little bit under 55.77. We did kind of go below that 9 today, and I thought we were more or less going to have a pullback to the 21. Now this is the 21 EMA, and that's your second support. If we do fail the 9, she could easily pull back to the 21. And I'm going to put a price line on the 21 here on the SPX. I'm only using the moving averages. So we'll type in 9 EMA. And we'll type in the 21 EMA. Those are the 2 major support levels. So I'm going to go to the yearly time frame now and see where my moving averages lie. This is called the yearly daily. And at 63 will be right here. The 63 EMA will be right here, and that'll be your next support if we don't hold this 55.1792. And I'm going to put a price line all the way across that. So that's basically all I need to know. And we have a gap. We have a gap right here. So I'm going to color that gap in on the daily. We had a big gap up. We could just hold the gap and then run back up to the top. So I'm going to definitely put a price line on the gap fill. We got the bottom gap, and that runs into the 63 EMA. And we're going to type that in here. Let me see if I can do this right. Yeah, I'm just going to type it in right now. because these things are going to move around. I should have typed in weekly on this trend line right here. But we're going to put a price line right here on this gap and call it the gap fill. We hit that today, so that's called the gap fill. We could easily come back down and touch that again tomorrow and double bottom on the SPX and hold that support. If not, we're going to pull back and hit that 63 right here, which I think would be a good spot at the bottom of the gap, and try to run it back up to the top. So if we don't hold the gap, we're definitely going to pull back and hit this other support level. So keep that in mind. That's on the daily. So these are the 4 different support levels that you're going to be looking at. And I'm going to type in gap in here. So when I pull this up tomorrow, I'll know exactly what it is. We got the gap right here, so that's going to be a gap support at that 5501. I'm going to type that in there too. $5501.32. Then I'll know that that's the gap support when I come in here tomorrow to trade this trade. So this is the way it's going to look. We need to hold 55.1792, and if that doesn't hold, it'd be 55.01.32, the top of the gap. And then if that doesn't hold, we'll go down into the gap fill and hit 54.55.29, which is off the 63 EMA. And then bottom line 54.53.97.42 for the bottom line support level to hold. The SPY, we also kind of went below the 21. Let's just pull up the weekly first. On the weekly, we're right at the 9, so I'm going to put a price line there on the 9. Just has to kind of be close. They're never perfect. At 550.41 today, I called a perfect one though on the video that I did this weekend. And then that's the 9. Then we've got the 21. So we're going to put a price line on the 21. And then the bottom line will be the 63 way down here, which I can't see. So that's going to be that number right there. 538.16 is going to be my support to hold if we do not hold the 9. Now I'm going to go to the yearly daily, and I'm going to look to see where we are here. We're below the 21, which is a little bit bearish. We could easily come back down here and do the same thing. You've got the huge gap. So I'm going to put a price line at the bottom of that body of that candle right there. And that's at 549.40, which is only $1 difference from where we were today. And we did hit that top of that gap today. So I'm going to color that one in. Gap plays, if you've never traded them before, you'll have a good learning lesson now. And we'll go to the bottom of that candle right there. And that's going to be the bottom support of that gap. And you want to go ahead and put a price line all the way across. And that's at 543.71. So the 3 different support levels, and then the bottom line will definitely be back down here at 538.43, and then we'll readjust it and look at it later. So what we need to hold tomorrow or break above would be the 21 EMA, and that's going to be your resistance level. So if we do break out and get above that, then we can run it back up to the 9. But if not, she's going to hold this gap right in here, and I'm going to type in gap. The gap's pretty good solid support. And if we don't hold that top of that gap, she'll definitely pull back to the bottom of it. That's how important that is. I mean, that's a solid support. And if it pulls back, it's going to hit the bottom of that gap and have a gap fill. And that price support right now is 549.40. If that doesn't hold, I'm going to type in top. It's good to know this. And then the bottom line support will be back down here at the 63 at 543, 544. I'm going to round it up a little bit because you got that red line, you got that there moving up some. So right at 544. And I'm going to put an alert right there just in case we miss it. And I'm looking for that 543. So I'll type in the alert 544.51 at or below, and I'm going to type in 63 EMA on daily. And that sums it up. That sums it up. We need to hold that gap. That's the way I'm going to call it out now. That gap support at 549.40, and if that doesn't hold, we could easily pull down to 544.51, and then bottom line will be 538.43. Now I'm bearish. We had a real serious sell-off today. I think it's the pre-election sell-off. If you know anything about money or stocks, Kamala's going to not tell us what she's going to be doing during her administration, so we more or less got to think of all the rhetoric she said in the past, and that's probably the same stuff that she'll pull on once she becomes president. For right now, she's trying to be a centrist and making a lot of promises that she doesn't believe in, and we'll just have to see. If you're a Democrat, I used to be a Democrat, so I know how they think. They don't like to be honest, for one. We like to beat around the bush, and then our plans can always change once we're elected. That's why I left the party. I like Trump because Trump says it as it is, and we know exactly what he's going to do. I'd vote for Kamala if I knew she wasn't a flip-flopper. So that's basically what I think we're in. We're into the pre-election sell-off, and September is always the month to remember. People have been calling the pullback in September. We do need a correction, a good one, and I think we're going to get it real fast and then bounce up real fast. So it's one of them times where you say, oh shit, I missed it again. Once we have a good pullback, and it could be all week long, or we could start to turn around tomorrow. This is a short week. We're just going to find out. We need to hold the gap. If we don't hold that gap, then we're going to drop down to the bottom of the gap. I've got an alert set for 544.51, and then I'll see what goes on from them. I'll probably have to go back and watch this video in the morning to remember what I said, but that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the SPY. We both have gaps, and if we don't hold the gap, we'll go down to the bottom of that gap on the daily time frame. This is the sneaky snake trading strategy, where I talk about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. And I wish everybody a safe trading. Don't try to overload yourself when we're in very volatile times. We got just less than a couple months before the election, and I'm just going to play it real safe until then. And I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to play it real safe until then. Have a great day.